Sarah Martinez wiped the sweat from her forehead as she adjusted her coveralls in the early morning heat. At 28, she had been working as an aircraft maintenance technician at Riverside Regional Airport for nearly 6 years. Her small hands moved expertly around the engine components, checking each bolt and wire with the precision that had earned her respect in a field dominated by men. The airport buzzed with its usual morning activity. Private jets lined the tarmac like expensive toys, their sleek bodies gleaming under the California sun. Sarah had always found it fascinating how much money some people had. The planes she worked on were worth more than most people made in their entire lifetimes, yet their owners treated them like cars, flying from one coast to another for business meetings or weekend getaways. Today was different, though. There was an urgency in the air that made Sarah's instincts sharpen. The ground crew was rushing more than usual, and she noticed several planes scheduled for immediate departure. Her supervisor, Mike Thompson, had mentioned that one of their regular clients, a prominent businessman named David Harrison, was planning an important flight to New York that morning. Sarah knew about Harrison from the local newspapers and business magazines scattered around the break room. He was a tech entrepreneur who had built his fortune developing security software for major corporations. At 42, he was worth an estimated $300 million and was known for his philanthropy and business acumen. His company, Harrison Technologies, employed over 2,000 people and had offices in 12 countries. As Sarah walked toward Hangar 3, where Harrison's private Cessna Citation was housed, she noticed something odd. There were fresh tool marks on the hangar door lock, and the security camera that usually monitored this area seemed to be positioned at an unusual angle. Her father had been a police officer for 30 years before his retirement, and he had taught her to notice details that others might miss. Inside the hangar, the white and blue Citation sat pristine and ready. Sarah pulled out her inspection checklist, even though this wasn't officially her assigned aircraft for the morning. Something about the situation made her want to double-check everything personally. She had learned early in her career that attention to detail could mean the difference between life and death in aviation. Starting her routine inspection, Sarah examined the exterior of the aircraft. The paint was perfect, without a scratch or dent. The landing gear looked solid, and the wings showed no signs of stress or damage. But as she moved toward the engine compartment, her trained eye caught something that made her stomach drop. There were subtle scratches around the engine cowling that hadn't been there during her last inspection 3 days ago. Sarah immediately knelt down and opened the access panel. What she saw made her blood run cold. Several critical engine components had been tampered with. The fuel line connections were loose, and what appeared to be small metal shavings had been deliberately placed near the fuel injectors. Her hands trembling slightly, Sarah continued her inspection. The sabotage was sophisticated, designed to cause catastrophic engine failure shortly after takeoff. Whoever had done this knew exactly what they were doing. This wasn't random vandalism. It was attempted murder. Sarah quickly pulled out her phone and called Mike Thompson. "Mike, we have a serious problem with Harrison's plane. Someone has sabotaged the engine. We need to ground this aircraft immediately and call the authorities." Mike's voice crackled through the phone. "Are you absolutely certain, Sarah? Harrison is scheduled to take off in less than 30 minutes. He has a crucial board meeting in New York, and there are 5 other executives flying with him." "I'm positive, Mike. This plane cannot fly. If it takes off, everyone on board will die." While waiting for Mike to arrive, Sarah documented everything with her phone, taking detailed photographs of the tampered components. She had learned from her father that evidence needed to be preserved exactly as found. Her mind raced as she thought about who might want to harm Harrison. In the business world, a man worth hundreds of millions of dollars surely had enemies. Mike arrived within minutes, followed closely by David Harrison himself. Sarah had never met the millionaire in person, and she was struck by how normal he looked. Medium height, graying hair, and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, he could have been anyone's uncle or college professor. He was dressed in a perfectly tailored navy suit, clearly ready for his important meeting. "Ms. Martinez, I understand you've found some concerns with my aircraft," Harrison said, extending his hand for a professional handshake. His voice was calm and measured, showing no signs of irritation despite the potential delay to his schedule. Sarah led both men to the engine compartment and explained her findings in detail. Harrison listened intently, asking technical questions that demonstrated his genuine interest in understanding the situation. Mike examined the evidence and immediately confirmed Sarah's assessment. "Mr. Harrison, this is definitely sabotage," Mike said, his voice grave. "Someone wanted this plane to crash. We're calling the FBI immediately." Harrison's face paled slightly, but his composure remained intact. "Ms. Martinez, it appears you may have saved my life and the lives of my colleagues. If we had taken off as scheduled, we would likely all be dead within minutes of departure." The next hour passed in a blur of activity. FBI agents arrived and cordoned off the hangar as a crime scene. Detective Maria Rodriguez, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s, interviewed Sarah extensively about her discovery. Sarah provided her photographs and a detailed timeline of her inspection. "Your attention to detail is remarkable," Detective Rodriguez told Sarah. "The sabotage was expertly done, designed to look like mechanical failure. Most technicians might have missed these subtle signs during a routine pre-flight check." As investigators processed the scene, Sarah learned more about the potential motives behind the attack. Harrison's company was in the process of acquiring a major competitor, a deal worth over $2 billion. The acquisition would eliminate hundreds of jobs and significantly impact several other companies in the industry. Additionally, Harrison had been receiving anonymous threats for the past 6 months related to his company's work with government agencies. His security software was used by the Department of Defense and several intelligence agencies, making him a potential target for foreign actors or domestic terrorists. "We've been recommending increased security measures for months," revealed James Morton, Harrison's head of security, who had arrived at the airport shortly after the FBI. "Mr. Harrison is sometimes too trusting and accessible for his own good. He drives himself to the airport and often flies without security personnel." The investigation revealed that the sabotage had likely occurred during the previous evening. The airport's security system had been mysteriously disabled for exactly 47 minutes between 11:30 p.m. and 12:17 a.m. During that window, someone with extensive knowledge of aircraft systems had gained access to the hangar and methodically sabotaged the plane. Sarah found herself at the center of a major criminal investigation. FBI agents questioned her about her background, her access to the aircraft, and her observations from the past several days. They were particularly interested in any unusual personnel or vehicles she might have noticed around the airport. "I've been thinking about this," Sarah told Detective Rodriguez during their third interview. 3 days ago, when I last inspected this plane, I noticed a cleaning crew working late in this hangar. They weren't our regular crew, and their supervisor said they were filling in due to illness. But now that I think about it, they spent an unusually long time around the aircraft. This information proved crucial to the investigation. The FBI traced the cleaning crew to a fictitious company, and surveillance footage from nearby businesses helped identify the individuals involved. It turned out to be part of a larger conspiracy involving disgruntled former employees of one of Harrison's competitors and a foreign industrial espionage ring. As the day wore on, Sarah realized how close she had come to witnessing a mass murder. If Harrison and his 5 colleagues had died in a plane crash, it would have been international news. The business world would have been shaken, stock prices would have tumbled, and thousands of employees would have faced uncertainty about their futures. Harrison approached Sarah as she was finishing her statement to the FBI. Ms. Martinez, I cannot adequately express my gratitude for what you did today. Your diligence and expertise saved 6 lives, including mine. I want to make sure you know that your actions will not go unrecognized. Sarah felt uncomfortable with the attention. I was just doing my job, Mr. Harrison. Any good technician would have noticed the same things. That's not true, and we both know it, Harrison replied. The FBI told me that the sabotage was specifically designed to be undetectable during routine inspections. Your exceptional skills and attention to detail made the difference between life and death today. The media attention began almost immediately. News vans arrived at the airport, and reporters sought interviews with Sarah, Mike, and anyone else connected to the story. Sarah had never liked being the center of attention, and the sudden fame made her deeply uncomfortable. By evening, the story was trending on social media and featured on national news programs. Local aircraft technician saves millionaire from sabotaged plane, read the headlines. Sarah's name and photograph were broadcast across the country, making her an instant celebrity. The investigation continued over the following days, with the FBI making several arrests. The conspiracy involved 7 individuals, including 2 former Harrison Technologies employees who had been terminated for selling proprietary information to competitors. They had been recruited by a foreign intelligence service to eliminate Harrison and disrupt the planned acquisition. Sarah returned to work the next day, trying to maintain some normalcy despite the ongoing media attention. Her colleagues treated her like a hero, which made her uncomfortable. She had always been a private person who took pride in doing her job well without seeking recognition. Mike Thompson pulled her aside during lunch break. Sarah, I've been in this business for 25 years, and I've never seen anything like what you did yesterday. The company wants to recommend you for several aviation safety awards, and Mr. Harrison's people have been calling all morning, asking about ways to recognize your actions. Sarah appreciated the sentiment, but she was more concerned about the security implications of the incident. If someone could infiltrate the airport and sabotage an aircraft so expertly, what other vulnerabilities existed? She spent her lunch break writing a detailed security assessment that she planned to submit to airport management and the FAA. The psychological impact of the incident began to sink in as Sarah drove home that evening. She had literally saved 6 lives by noticing details that others had missed. The weight of that responsibility was overwhelming, and she found herself questioning whether she would have the same level of attention to detail in the future. That night, Sarah called her parents in Phoenix to tell them about the incident before they heard about it on the news. Her father, the retired police officer, was proud but concerned about her safety. Her mother worried about the media attention and its impact on Sarah's private life. "Mija, you did something extraordinary," her mother said in Spanish, using the pet name from Sarah's childhood. "But be careful. When you save someone powerful, it can bring both blessings and troubles." As Sarah tried to fall asleep, she couldn't stop thinking about the sophisticated nature of the sabotage and the resources that must have been involved in planning the attack. The FBI had assured her that all the conspirators were in custody, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there might be other threats she hadn't yet discovered. The next morning brought fresh media attention and a phone call that would change everything. Harrison's assistant called to inform Sarah that Mr. Harrison wanted to meet with her personally to express his gratitude and discuss her future in the aviation industry. Sarah agreed to the meeting, curious about what the millionaire businessman might have in mind. She had no idea that this conversation would lead to opportunities she had never imagined, and a friendship that would transform both of their lives in ways neither could predict. The meeting was scheduled for the following Tuesday at Harrison Technologies headquarters in downtown Los Angeles. Sarah had never been inside a building like this before. The lobby featured soaring ceilings, modern art installations, and a waterfall that cascaded down one wall. Everything spoke of success and wealth, making her feel slightly out of place in her best professional attire. Harrison's assistant, Jennifer Chen, met Sarah at the security desk and escorted her to the executive floor. The elevator ride felt endless, as Sarah wondered what this powerful man might want from her. She had spent the weekend researching Harrison Technologies and was impressed by the company's innovations in cybersecurity and its commitment to charitable causes. Harrison's office occupied a corner of the building with floor-to-ceiling windows, offering stunning views of the city. The space was elegant but not ostentatious, with family photos on his desk and technical manuals scattered across a reading table. Harrison stood as Sarah entered, immediately putting her at ease with his warm smile and genuine demeanor. "Ms. Martinez, thank you so much for coming," he said, gesturing toward a comfortable seating area away from his formal desk. "Please call me David. After what you did for me, we're far beyond formal titles." Sarah settled into the leather chair, still feeling somewhat overwhelmed by the surroundings. "Thank you, Mr. Harrison. I mean David. I have to admit, I'm curious about why you wanted to meet." Harrison poured coffee from an elegant service set and sat across from her. "Sarah, what you did last week was extraordinary, but it also revealed something troubling about aviation security that I can't ignore. I've been thinking about how to address these vulnerabilities, and I believe you could play a crucial role in that effort." Over the next hour, Harrison outlined his concerns about airport security and aircraft maintenance oversight. The investigation had revealed that the saboteurs had exploited several weaknesses in the system, from inadequate background checks for service personnel to insufficient monitoring of aircraft between flights. "I'm planning to establish a new division within my company focused on aviation security," Harrison explained. "Not just cybersecurity for airline computers, but physical security for aircraft and facilities. I want someone who understands the technical aspects of aircraft maintenance and has demonstrated exceptional attention to detail to help lead this initiative." Sarah was stunned. "You're offering me a job?" "I'm offering you the opportunity to help prevent what happened to my plane from happening to anyone else," Harrison replied. "You have skills and instincts that can't be taught. Combined with the right resources and team, you could make a real difference in aviation safety." The offer was tempting beyond anything Sarah had ever imagined. The salary alone was more than triple what she made as a maintenance technician. But she loved her current job and felt loyalty to Mike Thompson and her colleagues at the airport. "I appreciate the offer more than I can express," Sarah said carefully. "But I need time to think about it. My work at the airport is important to me, and I don't want to abandon my responsibilities there." Harrison nodded approvingly. "That loyalty is exactly why I want you on my team. Take all the time you need. In the meantime, I'd like to offer something else as a token of my gratitude." He handed Sarah an envelope containing a check that made her gasp. It was enough money to pay off her student loans, her mother's medical bills, and still have a substantial emergency fund remaining. "David, I can't accept this," Sarah protested. "I was just doing my job." "You saved my life and the lives of 5 other people," Harrison replied firmly. "This is the least I can do. Please don't insult me by refusing it." As Sarah left the building that afternoon, her mind was spinning with possibilities. The job offer represented a chance to make a significant impact on aviation safety while achieving financial security she had never dreamed of. But it would mean leaving behind the hands-on work she loved and the colleagues who had become like family. Meanwhile, the FBI investigation was yielding more disturbing information. Agent Rodriguez called Sarah that evening with an update that made her blood run cold. "Sarah, we've discovered that you were also targeted," Rodriguez revealed. "The saboteurs had planned to frame you for the incident if their original plan had succeeded. They had planted evidence in your work locker that would have made you look like an inside accomplice." The revelation that she had unknowingly been part of the conspiracy's backup plan shook Sarah deeply. If the plane had crashed as intended, she would have been arrested and charged with mass murder. Her reputation, career, and life would have been destroyed completely. The good news is that your discovery of the sabotage exposed the entire plot, Rodriguez continued. All 7 conspirators have been charged with attempted murder, terrorism, and espionage. The Foreign Intelligence Service that recruited them has been identified, and diplomatic consequences are being pursued at the highest levels. The legal proceedings began to unfold over the following weeks. Sarah found herself as the star witness in a federal terrorism case that attracted international attention. The trial preparation was exhausting, requiring her to relive the discovery repeatedly and face aggressive questioning from defense attorneys trying to discredit her expertise. Harrison's legal team provided Sarah with her own attorney to protect her interests throughout the process. Attorney Michael Ross was an experienced federal prosecutor who had left private practice to specialize in protecting whistleblowers and key witnesses. "Your testimony is crucial to this case," Ross explained during one of their preparation sessions. "The defense will try to suggest that you planted the evidence yourself or that you misinterpreted normal wear and tear as sabotage. We need to be prepared for every possible attack on your credibility." The media attention intensified as the trial date approached. Sarah's story had captured public imagination, and she received hundreds of letters and emails from people around the world praising her courage and expertise. Several aviation companies offered her jobs, and she was invited to speak at industry conferences and safety seminars. Despite the overwhelming attention, Sarah continued working at the airport, finding comfort in the familiar routine of aircraft maintenance. Her colleagues protected her from reporters and curiosity seekers, allowing her to focus on her work while processing everything that had happened. Mike Thompson approached her one afternoon as she was completing an inspection on a small business jet. "Sarah, I want you to know that whatever you decide about Harrison's offer, you'll always have a home here. But I also think this might be the opportunity of a lifetime. You could help prevent incidents like this from happening anywhere in the world." The trial began 6 weeks after the initial incident. Sarah's testimony was scheduled for the second day, and she spent the previous evening with Attorney Ross, reviewing her notes and preparing for cross-examination. The courtroom was packed with media representatives, aviation industry professionals, and family members of the defendants. When Sarah took the witness stand, she felt the weight of 6 lives in her hands. Her testimony was clear, detailed, and technically precise. She explained exactly what she had found, why it constituted sabotage, and how the attack would have caused catastrophic failure shortly after takeoff. The defense attorney, a sharp woman named Patricia Williams, tried to suggest that Sarah was seeking fame and fortune by exaggerating normal maintenance issues. Williams questioned Sarah's experience, her motivations, and her relationship with Harrison. "Isn't it true, Ms. Martinez, that you saw an opportunity to become famous and wealthy by creating a dramatic story about imaginary sabotage?" Williams asked during a particularly aggressive line of questioning. Sarah remained calm and professional. "Ma'am, I've been working on aircraft for 6 years. I know the difference between normal wear and deliberate sabotage. The evidence speaks for itself, and it's been confirmed by FBI experts and independent aviation specialists." The prosecution's case was strengthened by surveillance footage, forensic evidence, and testimony from the FBI's technical experts. The conspirators had left a clear trail of evidence, from their fake cleaning company to their communications with foreign handlers. After 3 weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated for less than 6 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all counts for all defendants. The judge sentenced the ringleaders to life in prison without parole, calling their plot a sophisticated act of terrorism that threatened not only the intended victims, but the security of American aviation. Harrison attended every day of the trial, sitting in the front row to show his support for Sarah and the prosecution. After the verdicts were announced, he approached Sarah outside the courthouse. "Justice has been served, thanks to your courage and expertise," he said. his voice filled with emotion. "I hope you'll now consider my offer seriously. The world needs people like you protecting aviation safety." That evening, Sarah finally made her decision. She called Harrison and accepted his job offer, but with conditions. She wanted to split her time between his new aviation security division and continuing part-time work at the airport. She also wanted the authority to hire several of her current colleagues and implement comprehensive security improvements at airports across the country. Harrison agreed to all her conditions without hesitation. "Sarah, you're not just joining my company," he said. "You're helping me create something that could save countless lives in the future. Your experience and instincts will guide us in developing security protocols that go far beyond anything currently in place." The announcement of Sarah's new role generated significant media coverage and industry interest. Aviation Week featured her on their cover with the headline, "The Technician Who Changed Everything." The Federal Aviation Administration invited her to join a new advisory committee on airport security improvements. As Sarah prepared to transition into her new role, she reflected on how drastically her life had changed. 6 weeks earlier, she had been an anonymous maintenance technician focused on doing her job well. Now she was becoming a national figure in aviation security, with the resources and platform to make improvements that could affect millions of air travelers. Her father called from Phoenix after seeing the news coverage of her new position. "Mija, I'm so proud of what you've accomplished," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You used the skills I taught you about paying attention to details, and you saved lives. Now you have the chance to save even more." Sarah's mother was more concerned about the ongoing public attention and its impact on her daughter's safety. "Are you sure this is what you want?" she asked during their weekly phone call. "This man Harrison seems good, but powerful people have powerful enemies. Look what happened with his airplane." The concern was valid, and Harrison had already addressed it by providing Sarah with personal security and conducting thorough background checks on everyone who would have access to her in her new role. The FBI had also briefed her on potential ongoing threats from the Foreign Intelligence Service that had orchestrated the original attack. As Sarah cleaned out her work locker at the airport, preparing for her new role, she found herself thinking about all the aircraft mechanics, technicians, and safety professionals who worked anonymously to keep aviation safe. Her story had brought attention to their crucial work, and she was determined to use her new platform to advocate for better training, resources, and recognition for these unsung heroes. Mike Thompson organized a farewell party for Sarah's last day at the airport. The entire maintenance crew gathered in the hangar where she had discovered the sabotage, now returned to normal operations after the FBI investigation. Her colleagues presented her with a custom toolbox engraved with the words, "Guardian Angel of Aviation." "You're not really leaving us," Mike said during his speech. "You're taking everything we taught you and everything you learned here to protect people all over the world. We'll be watching your success with pride." As Sarah drove away from Riverside Regional Airport for the last time as an employee, she thought about the chain of events that had brought her to this moment. A few minutes of careful observation had prevented a tragedy, exposed an international conspiracy, and launched her into a career she had never imagined possible. The week before starting her new position, Sarah received an unexpected phone call from Harrison. "I have something special planned for your first day," he said mysteriously. "There's someone I want you to meet who played a crucial role in the investigation. Be at the office at 9 o'clock, sharp Monday morning." Sarah arrived at Harrison Technologies headquarters early on Monday morning, nervous about her first day in corporate America. The building that had once seemed intimidating now felt familiar, though she still marveled at the sophisticated security systems and elegant design elements throughout the lobby. Jennifer Chen met her with a warm smile and a security badge bearing Sarah's name and the title Director of Aviation Security Operations. The reality of her new position was still sinking in as they rode the elevator to the executive floor. "Mr. Harrison is waiting for you in conference room A, Jennifer explained. He's very excited about the surprise he has planned. Sarah entered the spacious conference room to find Harrison standing beside a man she didn't recognize. He was tall and distinguished, wearing a crisp FBI windbreaker, and something about his bearing suggested high-level law enforcement experience. "Sarah, I'd like you to meet Assistant Director Robert Chen of the FBI's Counterterrorism Division," Harrison said, his eyes twinkling with excitement. "He flew here specifically to meet you." Assistant Director Chen stepped forward with a firm handshake. "Ms. Martinez, it's an honor to meet you. Your actions prevented what could have been a devastating terrorist attack with international implications. The investigation that resulted from your discovery has led to the disruption of an entire espionage network operating across 3 countries. Sarah felt overwhelmed by the praise from such a high-ranking official. "I was just doing my job, sir." "That's what every hero says," Chen replied with a slight smile. "But what you did went far beyond routine job performance. Your attention to detail and willingness to speak up when you notice something wrong exemplifies the kind of vigilance we need to protect our nation's infrastructure." Harrison gestured for them to sit around the polished conference table. "Robert came here to personally thank you, but he also has a proposition that ties into what we're building here at Harrison Technologies." Over the next hour, Assistant Director Chen outlined the FBI's growing concerns about threats to civilian aviation infrastructure. The investigation into the attempt on Harrison's life had revealed vulnerabilities in airport security that extended far beyond what anyone had previously realized. "We've identified similar plots targeting other business leaders and government officials," Chen explained. "The attack on Mr. Harrison was part of a larger campaign designed to disrupt American economic and political stability. Your discovery didn't just save 6 lives, it exposed a threat to our entire aviation system. The FBI was looking for partners in the private sector to develop enhanced security protocols and detection systems. Harrison Technologies, with its expertise in cybersecurity and Sarah's practical knowledge of aircraft maintenance, represented an ideal collaboration. We want to work with you to create a new standard for aviation security," Chen continued. "Something that combines technological innovation with the kind of human expertise you demonstrated. This could revolutionize how we protect aircraft and passengers." Sarah listened in amazement as the 2 men outlined their vision. They wanted to create a comprehensive security system that would monitor aircraft from the time they entered a facility until they departed. The system would include advanced surveillance technology, enhanced background checking for all personnel with aircraft access, and training programs to help maintenance crews identify potential sabotage. "The beauty of this approach is that it relies on the people who know aircraft best," Harrison explained. "Technicians like you who understand how these machines should look and sound. Technology can enhance your abilities, but it can't replace the expertise that comes from years of hands-on experience." Assistant Director Chen leaned forward, his expression serious. "Ms. Martinez, we're offering you the opportunity to lead this initiative. You would work directly with the FBI, the Transportation Security Administration, and major airlines to implement these new protocols. It would be challenging work, but the impact could be enormous." The magnitude of what they were proposing took Sarah's breath away. She would essentially be helping to redesign aviation security for the entire country, drawing on her experience as a maintenance technician to create systems that could protect millions of travelers. "I'm honored by your confidence in me," Sarah said carefully, "but I want to make sure I can really contribute at this level. I'm a technician, not a security expert or a corporate executive." Harrison smiled warmly. "Sarah, that's exactly why you're perfect for this role. You see things that security experts and executives miss because you understand aircraft from the ground up. Your practical knowledge combined with our resources and the FBI's expertise could create something unprecedented." The meeting continued for another 2 hours as they discussed the technical details of the proposed security system. Sarah found herself contributing insights about aircraft vulnerabilities that neither Harrison nor Assistant Director Chen had considered. Her suggestions about monitoring protocols and inspection procedures were immediately incorporated into their planning documents. As the meeting concluded, Chen stood and shook Sarah's hand again. "Ms. Martinez, I came here expecting to meet a technician who had gotten lucky. Instead, I've met someone who could genuinely transform aviation security. I hope you'll accept our offer." After Chen departed, Harrison took Sarah on a tour of the new aviation security division that was being created specifically around her expertise. The space occupied an entire floor of the building and featured state-of-the-art computers, communication equipment, and a mock aircraft hangar where security protocols could be tested and refined. "This is all yours," Harrison said as they stood in the center of the impressive facility. "You'll have a team of 30 specialists working under your direction, including former FBI agents, cybersecurity experts, and experienced aircraft mechanics. Your job is to teach them what you know and learn from what they know." Sarah was introduced to her new team throughout the afternoon. The group included Marcus Williams, a former FBI counterterrorism specialist who had investigated aircraft sabotage cases for 15 years, and Elena Rodriguez, a cybersecurity expert who had developed intrusion detection systems for major airlines. What impressed Sarah most was that everyone on the team treated her with genuine respect, despite her lack of corporate experience. They asked detailed questions about her maintenance procedures and listened carefully to her explanations of how aircraft systems could be compromised. "Your story has already changed how we think about aviation security," Elena told her during a break between meetings. "Every major airline is reviewing their maintenance protocols because of what you discovered. You've probably prevented more attacks than we'll ever know about." As her first week progressed, Sarah threw herself into the work with the same attention to detail that had saved Harrison's life. She developed training materials that taught security personnel what to look for during aircraft inspections, created checklists that went far beyond existing industry standards, and designed communication protocols to ensure that suspicious findings were immediately reported to the proper authorities. The work was challenging, but deeply satisfying. Sarah felt like she was using her skills to make a real difference on a scale she had never imagined possible. Every system they designed and every protocol they implemented could potentially save lives and prevent terrorist attacks. Harrison made a point of checking on her progress regularly, and Sarah was struck by his genuine interest in the technical details of their work. Despite his wealth and position, he rolled up his sleeves and participated in equipment testing and system design discussions. "I've never met a CEO who actually understands the technical side of his business like you do," Sarah commented during one of their working sessions. Harrison laughed. "I built this company from the ground up, starting as a programmer working 18-hour days in a tiny apartment. I may wear suits now, but I still remember what it's like to solve problems with my hands. That's why I recognize your value. We think the same way." Their working relationship developed into a friendship over the following months. Harrison often invited Sarah to join him for lunch, where they discussed everything from aviation technology to their families and personal interests. Sarah learned that despite his wealth, Harrison lived a relatively simple life, driving a modest car and living in the same house he had bought 15 years earlier. "Money is just a tool," he explained during one of their conversations. "It's useful for building companies and helping people, but it doesn't define who you are. What defines you is how you treat others and what you contribute to the world." Sarah found herself sharing details about her own life and dreams that she had never discussed with anyone outside her family. Harrison was genuinely interested in her background, her parents' immigration story, and her plans for the future. He encouraged her to pursue additional education and training that would enhance her ability to lead the aviation security division. 6 months after starting her new job, Sarah received news that the first major implementation of their security protocols had prevented another sabotage attempt at an airport in Texas. A maintenance technician trained in their detection methods had identified suspicious modifications to a cargo plane that was scheduled to carry medical supplies to hurricane victims in the Caribbean. "This is exactly what we hoped would happen," Harrison said when they received the report from the FBI. "Your knowledge and instincts are now protecting people across the country. That Texas technician might never have noticed those modifications without the training we developed." The success led to rapid expansion of their program. The Department of Transportation mandated that all major airports implement their enhanced security protocols within 2 years. Sarah found herself testifying before Congress about aviation security improvements and consulting with international aviation authorities who wanted to implement similar systems. Despite her growing prominence, Sarah remained grounded in the practical realities of aircraft maintenance. She insisted on spending at least 1 day each month working alongside technicians at various airports, ensuring that their security protocols were realistic and effective in real-world conditions. It was during one of these field visits that Sarah realized how much her life had changed. She was working at Miami International Airport when a young female technician approached her nervously during a break. "Are you really Sarah Martinez?" the woman asked. "The one who saved that millionaire's plane?" Sarah nodded, still uncomfortable with being recognized. "Yes, but I'm really just a technician like you." "You're my hero," the woman continued. "I became a mechanic because I read about what you did. You showed that we can make a difference, that our work really matters." "I've already found 2 problems this year that could have caused accidents, and I reported them immediately because of what you taught us." Driving back to Los Angeles that evening, Sarah reflected on the unexpected path her life had taken. A split-second decision to conduct a thorough inspection had not only saved 6 lives, but had launched a career she never could have imagined. She had gone from being an anonymous maintenance technician to being a nationally recognized expert in aviation security. More importantly, she had found a way to use her skills to protect countless others. The security protocols she had developed were now standard practice at airports across the United States and were being adopted internationally. Every day, somewhere in the world, an aircraft technician trained in her methods was helping to keep passengers safe. When Sarah arrived at her apartment that night, she found a handwritten note from Harrison waiting for her. "Sarah," it read, "tomorrow marks 1 year since you saved my life and changed aviation security forever. I want to celebrate this anniversary by announcing our next major initiative. Be prepared for another surprise that will expand our impact even further." Sarah smiled as she read the note. Working with Harrison had taught her that every day brought new challenges and opportunities. She had learned that courage wasn't about doing extraordinary things, but about paying attention to details and speaking up when something wasn't right. As she prepared for bed, Sarah thought about all the aircraft technicians working the night shift at airports around the world. They were the unsung guardians of aviation safety, and she was proud to be their advocate and voice. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but she was ready to face them with the same attention to detail and commitment to excellence that had started this incredible journey. The next morning, Harrison's surprise turned out to be the announcement of a new international training center that would teach aviation security protocols to technicians from around the world. Sarah would serve as its director, ensuring that the lessons learned from her experience would benefit global aviation safety for generations to come. Standing beside Harrison at the press conference announcing the new center, Sarah remembered her mother's words about how saving someone powerful could bring both blessings and troubles. The troubles had been manageable, but the blessings had exceeded anything she could have imagined. She had not only saved a life, but had discovered her true calling in protecting the safety of air travelers everywhere.